Once you wander your way into some sleeping difficulty, it almost never just immediately dissipates. Generally speaking, it has a tendency to get worse or move into a direction that makes it much more difficult to treat. What I tell people is, look, there's some fundamental things that you should do. Number one, know your chronotype. We've talked about chronotype many times. Chronotype is your internal genetic predisposition for sleep, and that then controls a whole bunch of other things in your hormones. And when you got an idea of when your hormones are at particular levels, if you schedule those activities at those levels, all of a sudden you do that activity better. Once you kind of get this idea set around activity together, it works well, and chronotypes help you get there. Within chronotypes, you actually have an assigned sleep time, when to go to bed and when to wake up, and it's genetic. So it's very, very specific. So what's great about this is if you learn your chronotype, which go to chronoquiz.com, then all of a sudden you now know what time to go to bed and what time to wake up. That makes everything so much easier for everything else that you're trying to do. But it kind of gives you the guide rails from which to go. So I like people to start there by learning their chronotype and getting those guide rails.
If you're at a dinner party and you want someone to figure out what their chronotype is very quickly, do you have a few questions you can ask where you can, 80 or 90% accuracy?
Absolutely. So, well, number one, oftentimes I just say, whip out your phone and go to chronoquiz.com. But if I'm just going to ask them, here's what I tell people is I say, if you went on a 2-week vacation, which I know is rare these days, but if you did, or if you went on the end of your first of your 1-week vacation and you were allowed to go to bed and wake up at whatever time you wanted, what would it be? And that usually gives me an idea, because the first few days of vacation, you're just kind of catching back up, kind of getting the battery, to revive itself. But towards the end of the first week of the vacation, if you just really let your body sit and do what it wants to do, you'll settle into something. Now, the second question I ask people is, what were your mom and dad like? Right? I don't know about you, but when I was young, if I walked into my parents' bedroom at 11:30, 12 o'clock at night, they were both wide awake. My dad was watching TV. My mom was reading something. Everybody was a night owl. Surprise, surprise. I'm a night owl, what I call a wolf. So you can look at your parents for that one. The other one, the final one is, don't forget that this will change over time. So a lot of people say to me as they say, hey, when I got out of college, I was a lion. I was ready to get up at 6:30. And now, man, Michael, I am dragging it and I don't know what. So, right, it changes over time. And so what I ask people is I say, was there a time in your life where you felt like you could get up and it kind of worked with your current schedule? And is now that time, or is it different now? Because if it's different now, then there's a mismatch. And that's where we can do some good by kind of scooching people in one direction or the other.